Hello and welcome to MudPod, the one and only podcast made to give you all the bits and bobs you need to know about the UK and its diverse cultures.
With your spectacular host, Elvira,
Alika,
I'm Florencia.
and we will accompany you in your daily activities. So, what are we going to talk about today?
so today, as your wish, we're going to be talking about the special edition cultures in the UK, from the subcultures, sports, even the music cultures.
We will provide an in-depth explanation of not only the popular ones but also the ones that have been around for thousands of years.
That's right, and without further ado, let's dive into the cultures.
Let's go!
Okay, guys, do you know something about subcultures in the UK?
British subculture? What about the punks?
Ooh, that's a good one. In Indonesia, there's a lot of youth following this subculture.
Right, you can also meet them at the traffic lights.
Oh my god. So Elle, can you please explain what subculture is?
Of course. So, subculture is a group of people with a culture that differentiates them from the larger culture to which they belong. Members of a subculture often signal their membership through distinctive or symbolic choice such as clothing style or hairstyle. However, common interests and music genres can be important factors. Social class, ethnicity, and gender can also play a part in subcultures.
Wow, very interesting.
Yeah, right? Now, let's talk about British subculture from the 50s to the 70s. In the 1950s, there was a youth subculture called the Teddy Boys and Judies.
What was it again? Teddy Boys and Judies? Oh, that doesn't sound convincing.
Uh-huh. Those who followed this culture had a tendency to be involved in violence and unrest. They went against norms. They wore jackets with drapes and drainpipe trousers. With this, they wore very narrow ties and creepers. But not only the boys, but the teddy girls or Judies were also young working class women from the poorer district of London. They would typically leave school at the age of 14 or 15 and work in factories or offices.
What kind of clothes do they wear?
So the teddy girls are usually dressed in pencil skirt and blazers. The teddy girls are considered to be the first British female yacht subculture. In the 1960s, there was also a subculture called the mods.
The modes, like our podcast name?
Ahaha. So, mod is a subculture that began in London in 1958 that spread throughout Great Britain and other countries. The subculture has its roots in a small group of stylish London-based young men who listen to modern jazz. Significant elements of the mod subculture include fashion, often tailor-made suits, music, soul, ska, and R&B, and motor scooters, usually Lambretta or Vespa. The original mood scene was associated with amphetamine, full all-night dancing at clubs.
Wow, so like it must have been really cool back then in the 60s to, go out wearing suits and drive your Vespa around the town while jamming to old R&B songs, right?
Classic vibes, right?
Yeah, it's like the typical yacht generation back then. Next, we have the rockers,
Oh, my mom's favorite.
or you may call it little boys, tuna boys, or cafe racers. They were members of a biker subculture that originated in the UK during 1950s. It was mainly centered on British motorcycle and rock and roll music. Their style was influenced by Marlon Brando's character in the famous movie The Wild One, like leather jackets and motorcycle boots or bottle gripper shoes were a go-to look.
So it does have gangster vibes, right?
Yep, in the 1970s, there were also subculture called the glam rockers. They wore heavy makeup that their parents rarely approved. They walked in very high-heeled boots. Bowie was one of the most famous personalities at that time that influenced glam rockers worldwide. Glam rockers wore outrageous clothes, makeup, hairstyle, and platform-soled boots. And the next one is the hypebeast. They behave against norms and always try to dress accepted ways of fashion, singing, dancing each other. Most of the hypebeasts walked naked and worshipped exhibitionism. They dressed in old, tattered clothes. Old uniforms of military force became their preferred suits. They proclaimed that they represented peace and harmony.
Oh, but do you still call them the hippies in this, modern day?
Nowadays, they are called bohemians or naturalists. So it is more common to hear those terms rather than the hypebeast.
Ah, I see.
And finally, on the last subculture, we have the punks. In the late 70s, punk created a DIY revolution that allowed a generation to express themselves through self-cut and dyed hair. Artistically ripped t-shirt, jewelry made from safety pins and dog collars, and charity show trousers made into bondage strips.
But there were a lot of stereotypes back then about the punks. Many people say that they are troublemakers because they wore these extreme stuffs like colors and dyed hair as well.
It's more just like people's interpretation of them. But the truth is, they're not always like that. They're just unique, right?
Yeah, couldn't agree more with that. So that is all about the UK subcultures. I hope it's entertaining for all of you.
So, when you think of sports in the UK, you would probably just think of football, right?
Yeah, because apparently football is so famous in the UK.
Right, but they actually have so many other popular sports, such as golf, cricket, rugby, horse racing, tennis, and many more. So, a little bit of background, the UK has hosted the Olympics Games on three occasions, first on 1908, 1948, and 2012. And the main Olympic site for the 2012 Games was in Stratford, East London. And the British team was very successful across a wide range of Olympic sports, and they're finishing third in the medal table.
Wow, so it's pretty legit, huh?
Yeah, it surely is. So, moving on from the background, I'm going to explain some of the most popular sports in the UK. First, football is known as the most popular sport in the UK and has been played for hundreds of years. And it also recognized as, by many governing bodies, including Viva, as the birthplace of modern football. Not only that, but the UK is also home to the most watched football league in the world, and that is the Premier League.
So, like, just every country in the UK has its own team?
Each country in the UK has its national team that competes with other national teams across the world. And some of the most popular teams are Manchester United, Liverpool, and Arsenal. So the second most popular sports is cricket. It is the national sport of the UK and became popular in the 17th century.
Well, to be honest, I still don't know much about the cricket. Can you explain what kind of sport it is?
Okay, so for those of you who still don't know what cricket is, It's a bat and ball game played between two teams of 11 players, and each team takes it in turns to bat and score runs. And the most famous competition is the Ashes, which is a series of test matches played between England and Australia. And the rules of cricket are actually really complex, but even if you don't understand them all, it's still really fun to watch. Next, rugby is another popular and recreational sports in the UK, originated in England in the early 19th century, and it is divided into rugby union and rugby league, which both have different rules and ways to advance the ball.
I've heard that rugby is pretty similar to football. Is that true, Sue?
So unlike football, rugby players can pick up the ball with their hands, while the opposing, team tries to prevent them from scoring a goal. And the highlight of the rugby union competition is the Six Nation Championship between Italy, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, France, and England.
I know Six Nations.
Wow, so you're a big fan of rugby then?
I used to watch the tournaments with my brothers all the time. It's crazy fun.
Wow, someone is getting really excited. What's next, by the way?
Okay, last but not least, horse racing. So there's a very long history of horse racing in Britain. And since it has a long association with royalty, horse racing sometimes is referred to as the sports of king.
Yeah, it's a fancy sport.
Yeah, in fact, the queen is a big racing fan, and she even owns her own race horses. So England is also home to the Grand National, which is known as the most difficult horse race in the world. So there you have it, four popular UK. There are lots and lots of popular sports in the UK, but if I, explain all of them one by one, then this podcast will be 2 hours long. So, what do you think, guys?
It's really interesting to learn how, differs the culture in the UK.
Yeah, I would love to try one of those sports, especially horse racing. It sounds very exciting. So there's one more exciting thing from the UK. Guess what?
I know it should be music.
100 point for you. So how could you know that I'm going to talk about the music culture from the UK?
Yeah, I just love, music from the UK. I like pop music.
Nice, but it's not pop music only from there. The UK brings rich music cultures.
What else?
Let me tell you. So basically, the classic British music has been a mixture of Ars Nova polyphony of the early stage of music in Europe. Early music forms in Britain included highly distinct music forms such as cantatas angli, antiphons, carol, Celtic and medieval music. In the 16th century, British music was significantly influenced by religious, mainly Catholic music.
Ah, I see. I really like classical music. It feels like we are living in a castle when we listen to it.
What castle do you mean?
Shh, she wanna be a princess. Let's guess the other music one from the UK.
Dangdut.
No, please say that you are kidding.
Is it opera?
Correct. 200 points for you, Alika. So, in the early era of Baroque, opera music became the limelight in Britain. The royal court music also played one of the leading roles in British music in the 17th century, so it integrated into the wider European music culture. Between the medieval and Renaissance eras, the Baroque music forms came to the fore with more distinguished orchestral classical music forms. New musical instruments took the stage with operas. Within the Stuart monarchy, music was more of a kind of court music.
Ah, I see. Isyana Saraswati.
Yeah, Ishana sings opera songs, with the opera musician also. And I often watch her on YouTube. It's very nice to listen to.
Yeah, and we should know the British composer too. So the 19th century produced many well-known composers such as Gustav Holst, Arthur Sullivan, Hubert Parry, Benjamin Britten, and Edward Elgar.
How about my favorite music?
What is it, dangdut? No, just kidding. Pop music?
Yeah, so the immigrants from Commonwealth countries brought folk music from their countries, which became an integral part of the music of Great Britain. So today there are many genres of music in England, such as rock, pop, jazz, rap, hip hop, folk music, and etc. So these music forms have combined music genres from the other countries like Australia, the United States, South Africa, and most of the Asian, Latin, African, and European countries.
Nice. So there are assimilations of music culture in the UK.
That's right. All kinds of music of the UK are great, aren't they? Especially pop music, it's everywhere now, and now you guys know the history of it.
You've reached the end of our first and last episode of Mod Pod with your hosts Elvira, Alika, and Florencia.
We hope you enjoy our deep dive into the subcultures, sport, and music cultures in the UK.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and goodbye.